Hey, what's going on? Happy Friday, TGIF and all of that. This is Jason Francis here, also known as the Social Media Samurai. Hope everything is well with you. Coming in with the Samurai extension. As you can see, this is now week 5 of Madame Noire's AskABlackMan series. Hopefully, if you're watching this, you took a look at the video above, and you'll see that this week's topic of conversation is marriage. The guys are diving into marriage topics, head of household, definition of a husband, whole bunch of things pertaining to getting married, ideally staying married, and what it takes to do so. I know this is a topic that comes up with a lot of people, especially today, as many people's opinions and overall outlooks on marriage are sort of changing and shifting with the time. So with that being said, I'm going to add my 2 cents on a few things, and as it looks like I will be making my debut within the series this upcoming week. Should be going live Monday, so looking forward to that. But let's get into the subject at hand, marriage. Let's do this. What is my take on the current divorce rate? That's always the thing that a lot of people say when it comes to marriage. Oh, what's the point of getting married? More than half of marriages result in divorce, yada, yada, yada. The problem with that for me is that I think if you don't believe you're a product of your environment, I think you're at least definitely highly influenced by it. And the thing with me is, I've grown up and even still to this day have been surrounded by successful marriages. So while a lot of these ratios and percentages and whatever they might be are skewing to greater and more divorces, a lot of that is kind of foreign to me. So it hasn't changed my view. Marriage, like any other sort of relationships, they're an individual thing, they're a specific thing, they're a circumstantial thing, so who knows what's going on. Realistically, there may have been people, just because how society presented and taught and pushed towards marriage. I'm sure a lot of people were in marriages they needed to leave, that they did it because of the stigmas that came with it back then. So I'm sure there are a number of people today who are getting out of marriages that justifiably so they need to get out of. At the same time, I think a lot of people are getting out of marriage because the mentality is such that if something bad is happening, leave, versus kind of not even waiting it through, but putting in the work to make it survive, make it last. It's interesting because I just wrote a blog the other day about knowing the difference between leaving something and quitting. And I can't help but wonder how many of these divorces are matters of people quitting versus people having taken the time to dive into whatever the issues might be, and then really see if it's worth pursuing, or just like, okay, no, this doesn't work, I'm out. My mentality is such is that marriage is a one-shot deal for me. Kind of one of the reasons why I'm not rushing into it. But it's a one-shot deal that, should it, heaven forbid, it ends up in divorce, I'm not going to be looking to go around too. So I understand it. There's just sort of there's a finality that I apply to the idea of divorce. So I don't look at the divorce rate presently as something that deters me, but I'm aware of the times and how society is right now, pretty much. Are most black men marriage-minded? Interestingly enough, most of the black men I know are. Whether they're married already, looking for marriage actively, presently, or are not there, but that, still being their end goal. I don't know too many men who are just completely opposed to marriage. So I think while, depending on what type of media and where your particular information sources are coming from, you might get this idea that that we aren't interested in marriage, that that's not our goal. I think a lot of things, age-wise, have been pushed back. I think in a space where a lot of us would be married already. I'm 34. My dad was married at 30, had me at 32. So obviously I'm later along in the age range than when he was doing things. But I think the way our society is shifting, the way economy and advancement professionally at work is changing, and so much is in flux right now. A lot of people are doing things later on than the previous generations. And that might give the impression that we don't have that interest. And along with the fact that people are doing things later, a lot of us who are in our 30s and whatnot, like, we don't feel, you talk to us, we don't feel like, we're marriage stage yet. We're still putting things together. We're still living life. A lot of us are still coming into who we are with all the things changing around us. But yeah, I don't see any lack of men that want to get married. I just don't think they feel this weight or this burden to have to do it right now, or have to do it before they're ready to do so. I always hear people say there's no perfect time, to get married or do certain things, and I'm like, no, there's not a perfect time, but there are times that are better than others. I think in a marriage, you should have certain things together. You should be in a position to, present and bring certain things to that situation when it's time. So yeah, time frames vary, but black men that I know of, that I interact with, are still definitely heavily marriage minded. Head of household. To me, head of household, to be perfectly honest, I feel there's an internal element in terms of the relationship between you and your partner, and I think a lot of it is also based on how you're presenting how you present your marriage and your relationship to the people. It's sort of like what was that movie in the movie Mobsters, within the group, within the collective, everybody had a say, everybody had a specialty that they were good at, but every group needs someone in front, needs a face, needs a figurehead, that when you see the collective, this is the person at the front, at the forefront of things. This is the person that represents and stands for the group. And I think on the exterior side, head of household is sort of like, when we go out, when we operate, when we do things in a public space, I'm taking the responsibility of being the person out front, representing us and representing what we stand for and what we're about. Not overshadowing, and I think that's the part where a lot of people get it twisted. Not overshadowing or dominating over my wife or nothing, but I think that's just like when we go out, and we do certain things, meet a person, I'm gonna, step up, shake the hand, say, how you doing? We are Mr. and Mrs. whatever, and then the wife introduces herself. Like, I think it's just sort of just, I guess, like a level of like just social decorum. And I guess, if you personally don't subscribe to that, in the end, you do whatever works for you. That's just what I've been brought up around, and what I've seen work successfully. I think on the interior end of that, as far as what actually happens in the household, I think there's a level of leadership and responsibility, and that doesn't mean you call every shot, but I think it just means there's a sense, again, of leadership and direction that you take in regards to how certain things are going to be run, the guidelines and beliefs and the thing with this is everything is a joint decision, it's a joint conversation, but I just think there's always a need for someone to sort of have some sort of leadership role in regards to certain decisions being made. And, you know, with those decisions also comes comes some of the fallout if things don't go right either. You have to be the one willing to take the L if a decision doesn't go right. If something, if certain circumstances come up that need to be dealt with, you are now that person. So it's not just all the good of being the head of the household. It's, being able to really carry the weight of every and anything that might be presented to you also. All right, I guess this is sort of a continuation of the head of household conversation. To me, is basically, what do I think a husband is? I think, a husband is a friend, partner, provider, support system, protector. I think it's a whole litany of things. But I think go into what a husband is, what a husband should be. I think part of that is, the things that I've listed, and then I think there's another component which, isn't here to be provided at the moment. What really I think is more so what does a woman want in a husband, and then where do those two definitions kind of match up? But yeah, it's funny. I'm I always tell people I'm very big on words, very big on titles and labels. I always tell people the things you say have power, the things that you call yourself, call others have power. That's not what everybody believes, and that's cool. But it's one of the reasons why it's like, and again, this is something to me, might not be something to others, but anytime I've been in a relationship or a situation, seeing someone, there's certain labels and certain terms that, they're not cute little nicknames. I don't use them because I think there's value to those words. Like, wifey was never a term that really it made sense in terms I got what people were using it for, but wife isn't something for me that I'm going to shortchange into a cute little nickname. If you're my wife, you're my wife. If you're not, that's not what I'm going to call you. Now, if we're in a serious relationship that's evolving and progressing, you're my woman, you're my partner. I have there's no lack of quality things I'm going to call you, but, I'm not calling you my wifey. I'm not your hubby because we're dating. That's two different things. It's kind of like, people know that there's weight in those words, husband and wife. But people don't necessarily want to put all the work to get to that point, so they just kind of downgraded the two terms for something that's lighter and more playful, to use in the present tense, even though, you've known the person 3 months, but that's your hubby. That don't make no sense. And the thing is, it goes deeper and evolves into people doing husband and wife, deep, serious relationship type things with people who haven't earned it. That's another topic in it. Another topic in itself. But that's what I think. I think husband. Truth be told, and a lot of people subscribe to this. I think when it comes to titles, husband and wife are really the only ones that matter at the end of the day and have weight. If you're kind of going by a more old school view of how marriage and a husband and wife situation should be. Hopefully it's something that goes on for life, because everything else, all things can be temporary, but you know how things are. Someone gets into a relationship today, that person is their world, and then a month or two later, hey, what's up? Yeah, you're back. It didn't work out, but that person was the sun, moon, and the stars a little while ago. So yeah, husband, a lot of things. Provider, support system, breadwinner to some degree. Actually, no, cut that part. Doesn't even necessarily, because you could be the way the way things are trending right now, you could be a quality husband and not be the top breadwinner in the household, which again could dive into another topic, but that's kind of how I look at what a husband is supposed to be. Do I still believe in marriage? Well, I guess after answering the previous questions, if you couldn't tell, yes, I do. I believe heavily, wholeheartedly in marriage. It's a big part of what I'm doing, what I do now. So I can be in a position to fully function and provide in a marriage, and the continuation of that is to be able to start a family. My mindset is I need to be able to provide at the very least what was provided for me, and a lot of things change over the years. Value of money, what you could get, but the bottom line was, as far as all essentials, I never had to struggle or worry where a meal was coming from, where food was coming from. There was always a roof over my head, even in the momentary situation where a fire burned us out of house and home for a little bit of time. There was never a worry that we weren't going to get back to where we needed to be. Being provided the opportunity to pursue education and an outside interest and do all those things put me in a space now to try and build and create the things that I'm working on right now. So definitely I feel that marriage is a very strong and integral part to society. Maybe not, there's changes in everything. I don't think some of the classic ideas of like how a woman is supposed to be subordinate to a man. Like, I think marriage is a partnership, and I see it with my own parents. I know there are things that my dad's good at, and there are things that my mom is better at. So even though my dad is the head of the household, when they work together on something, you work towards your strengths and you do what's best in those situations. I mean, it's funny, I could count. I know people like, kids don't see everything. Like, my parents aren't that. My parents aren't that complicated. That things are being hidden, and it's happy face to the world and disaster. Like, my parents have been and are good. I could probably imagine one serious argument in my lifetime of seeing them. So hey, maybe what I was brought up in and around is becoming more of the exception for some folk these days, but you're never going to be able to talk me out of a positive belief in marriage because of what it is I have as an example around me on a routine basis. So yeah, I think truth be told, like, for me, you gotta be able to believe in something. Like, there are good people and they're not so good people. And the way our world works, the things that we focus on, the way that negativity gets so much more of our light and attention and focus. If you don't believe in marriage, if you don't believe in people, like, everybody's got their own belief systems and whatever helps you get through the day. But for me personally, I need certain things that I got to be able to believe in beyond just the average man, because people are crazy. This world is really, really out there right now. And I think you need something to keep you balanced in this world. I don't believe in fairy tales and all that. I think you got to use your head. You got to use your common sense in certain things. See too many people setting themselves up for failure, but you can't tell them that because then you're the bad guy. But, love, marriage, that type of thing, I definitely think it's out there. I definitely think it exists. You just got to find it wherever it is, and whoever is best for you. Let's be able to put the time and the investment in to make that work. So that's my thought on marriage. Hopefully it's someplace I get to at some point in life. But just want to thank y'all for tuning in to this. I'm not sure how long this whole thing ran. Once again, check it out. Madame Noire, Ask a Black Man. This has been season 2. If you like what you saw in the video above, hop over to MadameNoire.com. They've got profiles on the respective members of all the panels, and I think next week might be the last week, and maybe it's the next to last. But either way, I am making my, do you want to call this on screen? I don't want to say that. I'm making my web series debut with the Ask a Black Man team next Monday sometime. I mean, you'll see it with me, and again, I'll be taking giving more follow-up to that. And again, you got questions, whatever it is you want to do, feel free to contact me. www.thesocialmediasamurai.com. You also hit me on Twitter, True, Omega Nexus, Facebook. I'm out there. So I hope y'all have a great day, have a great weekend, and I will see y'all later.